Hey yo, how y'all doing? This is your girl Tashi and I am back with another video. How you doing? How you feeling? So we're gonna be reacting to American cities are ugly and why we don't build nice places anymore. Oh gosh, let's get straight to the video.
Have you ever been somewhere and thought, wow, this place is beautiful? Maybe it's the fine details in the architecture, the sounds of people chatting and enjoying themselves, or simply the energy and atmosphere the place gives off. But you might have also wondered, why are American cities so ugly? It's the cookie-cutter sameness of suburban neighborhoods and the commercial strips surrounded by parking lots, chain stores, and gas stations. Of course, there are many exceptions, but the vast majority of our cities are forgettable and soulless places. Places you only go to if you have to and leave as soon as possible. And if this is all you've known, how can anything be different? What may not be apparent is that all these places are designed very intentionally.
I want to know if he lives in that neighborhood, because his other videos, he keeps showing that same neighborhood.
A hidden set of rules and laws that ultimately define how every aspect of our cities look. So why are some places so beautiful and why do most American cities suck? And when I say beauty, I don't just mean visual appeal, but if architecture and urban design reflects our unique values and identity, what do places like this say about us? In the late 1800s, cities were rapidly industrializing, making them crowded, unsanitary, and dangerous. When referring to the urban slums of New York, the 1894 Tenement House Commission called them centers of disease, poverty, vice, and crime. Thus, modernist planning emerged in the early 20th century partly as a way to solve these issues. The idea was that form follows function, or in other words, function and efficiency were more important than visual appeal. Steel, glass, and concrete became the primary materials, and buildings would no longer have decorative details or reference historical architecture. Modernists believed that there is a one best way of building. After the Second World War, America was faced with a huge housing crisis. Thus, modernist planning became popular as a way to mass-produce housing. In order to avoid the decaying cities of the past, new neighborhoods were built far away on the outskirts of the cities. Euclidean zoning laws were used to fully separate residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. Other laws controlled how far back a building had to be from the street, how big the lot was, and even the size of the building itself. The layout of the streets changed from a simple grid to a garden pattern full of winding curves and cul-de-sacs. The combination of all these laws made these suburbs car-centric, meaning residents had to drive in order to get anywhere. And this proliferation of cars completely reshaped our cities. Since suburbanites had to commute downtown, we needed to completely revamp all our infrastructure to support all the cars. Firstly, we needed highways. The Federal Highway Act of 1956 resulted in the interstate system we know today, and was partly meant to move military vehicles in case of an invasion. This was heavily pushed by the Secretary of Defense, Charles E. Wilson, who was also the former president of General Motors. So of course, highways were plowed right through cities, targeting minority neighborhoods, and destroying every building in its path. Not even Eisenhower expected this to happen. Of course, it didn't stop there because throughout the decades as traffic increased, highways, roads, and streets all had to be expanded, destroying even more buildings. Even to this day, cities like Houston are spending billions of dollars to expand their highways, which will destroy hundreds of homes and businesses. This is why streets in our cities look like highways. They're designed to—
Why are we building more highways? Do we need more highways? Oh my god, you don't need no more highways.
Improve traffic flow
as much as possible,
making them extremely wide and ominous. Even elements like trees are seen as obstructions that a driver might hit.
I don't mean to keep cutting the video, but the thing is, when you build up more highways, that's not gonna solve anything. People are still gonna buy more cars. There's gonna be more cars in the street. What you gonna do? You're gonna build more highways again? More highways? Like, that's not gonna solve anything. It's not.
So they have to be removed from the clear zone. Another consequence of car dependency was the sheer amount of parking we had to build everywhere. It's estimated that there are over 1 billion parking spaces in America, or 4 spaces for every car. This is why UCLA professor Donald Shoup wrote a 700-page book about the history of parking and why it's so stupid. Laws such as minimum parking requirements were implemented to accommodate the huge demand for off-street parking. These requirements force every type of building to provide a certain amount of parking. The problem was, there is no accurate or scientific way of determining how much parking a certain business should need, so these requirements were entirely based off of guesses and pseudoscience. Shoup explains that cities would literally guess how much parking should be needed, otherwise they would copy other cities who probably also just guessed. Parking requirements were thus based off of very arbitrary assumptions, such as one parking space for every 2,500 gallons of water at a swimming pool, every 10 nuns in a nunnery, or for every tumbling apparatus in a tumbling center. Planners would decide the amount of parking based on peak demand, meaning we massively overbuilt how much parking is actually needed on a typical basis. In the words of Donald Shoup, it's unfair to have cities where parking is free for cars and housing is expensive for people. But all this free parking comes at a cost, which is reflected in all the products you buy, so even if you don't drive, you're still subsidizing these giant ugly pavements everywhere. This also means that parking minimums make it very expensive for small businesses to operate their stores. So the only businesses that can afford this in the long term are large companies. This is partly why America is mostly dominated by either corporate bought stores and fast food chains, or expensive luxury condos and hotels. Small mom-and-pop shops make a street look nice because they provide individual flair and unique character.
Yes.
To attract customers, they set up attractive window displays and design interesting storefronts. Big corporations, on the other hand, build their stores to be standardized and uniform.
Because, let's just keep it real, they build it like this because they don't care. As long as y'all come in, buy something, and get the hell out. That's why. Let's just keep it real. They don't care about all that. See, those mom and pop shops, they're more like for the community. They put more love into their store. You know, they put a lot more love into it. They try to make the customer feel more comfortable, more welcoming. Come in, my home is your home type of feel. Let's just keep it real. But these places like this, they're not gonna make it nice and try to make it, you know, they don't care about all that. Let's just keep it real, you know. And most of the stuff that we use to build up these houses are cheap materials. It's all about building these stuff real quick, make them look ugly. Well, they're not. I don't know if they're thinking about let's make it look ugly. They just don't care about all those other details, you know. So they don't care about all that.
Department stores, power centers, and fast food chains are bland and soulless. They're botsy and look the exact same everywhere. The combination of all these vast parking lots and highways left a tremendous irreversible scar on our cities. When you look at old photographs of American cities, you can see just how much destruction had unfolded. Blocks of old beautiful architecture and bustling neighborhoods were completely wiped. Today, you would never know that they had even existed.
Damn.
So despite all these laws and regulations, this is not to say we should get rid of them. Humans like order and structure. We have a tendency to organize and straighten things out. Too much freedom would be chaotic. Take for example the Kowloon walled city. But on the flip side, too much order results in blandness and monotony.
And these places are so depressed. I'm not gonna lie, I said this in another video where I watched a video where a guy was talking, not him, it was another guy talk about, you know, why our houses look so modern. It was something about modern, you know, our houses look so modern. But like I said in that video, they don't care about all that stuff. It's about hurry up, let's hurry up and build this quick so we can make some money. They don't try to put the effort of trying to make it look more nice, make it look more unique. They don't care about all that stuff. It's not like how it used to be, like, I don't know, 50, 100 years ago, where they used to like put in so much into like building a building, you know. But yeah, they don't put our love into it. They don't care. It's all about hurry up, we have a deadline. You have to like 2 or 3 months to build this building, and that's it. And they want to make their money real quick. They don't care.
The apartments built across Asia and the Soviet Union, and of course American suburbs. What we need is a mix between the two, an organized chaos. The historic canal houses in Amsterdam are limited in width and color palettes, but they vary in height, and each house has its own unique decorative elements. Many streets in South America, like this one in Recife, Brazil, maintain a similar form but allow
look how beautiful this is. And I mentioned this so many times, like, this is beautiful. I wish New York looked like this, okay? All right? This is beautiful. I love to see different colors. It just brings it, I don't know, it makes you feel good, you know?
Each building to have different bright colors. Similarly, the old Victorian-style houses in San Francisco are nearly identical, but each house...
Look at the details of these homes. Look at the detail. Look at it. They put a lot of work into this, you know? They don't make homes like this anymore.
Has its own pastel color and have slight variations in the patterns and details.
Look at that. Look at the
Cities also need to be lively and compact. It's no surprise that the most attractive places are full of life. We can see people dining in outdoor patios, busters playing music.
Look how beautiful this is. Look at this.
And street vendors selling food. Of course, none of this is possible when your city is spread out with monotonous suburbs and giant parking lots, or full of dangerous high-speed traffic. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't just a suburb issue. Many North American downtowns are completely devoid of any life. This was of course a result of running highways through them and bulldozing half of it to build parking. Today, our downtowns primarily serve office workers who commute from the suburbs, rather than being pedestrian-oriented spaces that are comfortable to spend time in. All you find here are bland corporate office towers or parking garages.
I said this so many times, the same color, the same look. This is, I'm sorry, this is depressing. Very depressing.
And even though there's thousands of people who work here, they're all obscured behind the bleak facades of the office buildings. Many Asian cities are similar in that they have insanely large roads full of cars and skyscrapers, but they balance it out with huge pedestrian spaces and shopping districts. Not to mention, they have amazing public transit, so most of their population aren't dependent on driving. The design of our streets and town squares should be viewed as an outdoor room, an extension of our homes. In his book, Walkable City, Jeff Speck mentions that from an evolutionary standpoint, humans need to be spatially contained by the walls of buildings. We need a clear view to see our prey, but also have our flanks protected from predators. The ecologist Eugene Odom argues that the ideal habitat for humans weren't open grasslands or dense forests, but rather the forest edge, where you have both a clear distant view and physical enclosure. Thus, you'll find that nice places use buildings, trees, or other objects to break up the space and create a sense of enclosure. This parking lot in Beijing cleverly uses trees to break up the space. Contrast that to the strip mall parking lot, which feels empty and depressing. The key with this is maintaining proportions. Many suburban neighborhoods have excessively wide streets and large setbacks, which throws off the balance and feels disproportionate. This is partly why the suburbs can feel so liminal and creepy. Of course, there are also wide spaces like St. Peter's Square in the Vatican or Palace Square in St. Petersburg, which can feel disproportionate too. But these only work because they're pedestrianized and not full of cars. This is also how you create those cozy, intimate alleyways that everyone is so...
This is what I'm talking about, cozy. This is what I like. Even though it's a little too tight, but I like it because it just brings in that coziness. You know, you feel like, I don't know, you feel like you're at home. I don't know, it's something about, I like this.
This
is how alleys
such as the Via dei Coronari in Rome or Beacon Hill in Boston. They create a sense of mystery and a feeling of being lost. Of course, these places would be completely illegal to build today due to our zoning laws and parking requirements. Another crucial aspect is how the design and architecture of a place reflects its unique values and identity. Bruges in Belgium is known for their medieval architecture. Jaipur, India is known for its pink historical buildings. And Rio de Janeiro is known for its beach culture. But what are the suburbs of Houston known for? Highways and parking lots? When you look at how beautiful cities around the world are designed, they all follow the same traditional development pattern. Everything is at a human scale.
And I hope they never ever change this. I hope when the next generation, please don't mess it up. Please leave
within
it out
walking distance. Residential and commercial uses were mixed together. The architecture was designed to adapt to the unique climate or geography, and building materials reflected the environment of where the city was located. American cities follow this traditional pattern as well. You can see remnants of this in old streetcar suburbs or the historic main streets found in almost every town. But when everything everywhere looks the same, we lose community solidarity and our connection to the places we live. I think the best example of this is Hawaii. This Strong Towns podcast discusses how out of place modern suburban development looks on these islands and how hard it is to maintain this infrastructure in such a unique climate. Hawaii is a bunch of volcanic rocks in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, with completely different cultures and geography, but the same suburban neighborhoods you find everywhere else is built here. Fortunately, many cities are moving in the right direction. This map shows all the cities that have removed parking minimums either from the city center or from the entire city completely.
Look at
Many
New York.
are also starting to reform their zoning laws to allow more mixed-use development and higher density. It's interesting to see the effects of this on newer developments. Here's a mixed-use development in a brand new suburb near Toronto. And when I say brand new, I mean it was literally still under construction when I was there filming. Storefronts are right up against the sidewalk, and there's nice streetscaping with trees and flowers. Even though it's still botsy and car dependent, it's much better than having a massive parking lot in front.
That's
Removing
true.
highways from a city center is also shown to improve quality of life, traffic, and of course, beauty. Here's what it looked like when Seoul removed one of their major freeways. And here's Boston when they buried the I-93. You can even go a step further and remove cars altogether. Montreal has been pedestrianizing a few of their major streets during the summer, and you can really see what a difference it makes. Here's another example in Denver, Colorado, or Coral Gables in Florida. The modernist...
Well, he didn't show New York. New York has some places where it used to be a lot of cars. They slowly like changing it now. Like they're making it smaller and smaller and smaller. All you're gonna see is like mostly chairs and tables and chairs for people to sit and relax and stuff like that. So, like I said, in New York, we're slowly trying to have less cars on the road.
idea that form follows function is sort of ironic when you consider that traditional development was meant to be functional. Beauty is function. When the design of our cities reflect our unique environment, culture, values, and the needs of our community, it becomes beautiful. This is why so many cities all around the world, including some in North America, are so appealing to tourists. But no one really gets excited to visit Winnipeg, Manitoba. Now, of course, not every city has to be some exceptional tourist attraction, but when you design a city for the people that live there, you create places that people actually care about.
Yeah.
Places that aren't soulless and demoralizing. Places that are beautiful.
There you go. I agree with him. I totally agree with him. But like I said, he didn't mention it. But let's just keep it real. We all know they don't care. They don't care, you know? They're gonna continue building all these high-rise buildings, and they don't put no much love to it. It's just high-rise, especially here in New York. Yeah, I already mentioned it before. I don't like all these buildings that they build in. They build in so many buildings here, you know, and it's so soulless. There's nothing. It's nothing nice to look at. It's just plain, you know. And if you're from New York, especially in Brooklyn, if you're from Brooklyn and you was born and raised here, you start noticing the difference in downtown Brooklyn now. Downtown Brooklyn is not downtown Brooklyn anymore. It's like it changed. Like they closed down a lot of stores and they're building all these high rise and all these hotels and these expensive buildings and all that stuff, and they all look the same. And it's like no one doesn't even shop or go down there like they used to. This is different. This feels different. Doesn't feel like home anymore, you know. I remember people used to go down there, and we used to like there was a lot of mom and pop shops where people know each other and support their business, and you know they're not there no more, you know, because it's expensive now to even have your own, you know, your own shop, you know, because a lot of these people, these rich people, let's just keep it real, rich people who have money or like buying them out. The taxes are very high. These people got to pay their rent and it's expensive. And these people who have money, they take it over and they build up all these high-rise places. So it doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't feel like home anymore. So that's the only sad thing, you know, about, you know, especially living here in New York. You know, everything just changed. But like I said, they slowly trying to get rid of cars. I've noticed that. They're getting rid of cars. they're shutting that down, because I noticed like especially downtown Brooklyn, they literally have like a street lane for only buses, and like for the cars, they only got one street. They got to share that one little street, and they split for the buses to drive on, drive past. Well, have their own side, I should say. Yeah. But yeah, and they have a lot of bike lane. We're starting to get more and more bike lane, which is good. Some of us do need to ride our bike anyway. But anyway, comment below, let me know how you feel about this video, and I'll see you later. Peace.